So we talked just a couple of weeks back about how Warwickshire was bringing this new flag rule, and I said that the real story about this was always the fact that doing this was so petty of them. Honestly, it is the most petty thing I can think of any council doing. But the fact that they stripped a power from a council officer and gave it to themselves sets, I think, a far more dangerous precedent. Because what if in the future another council officer tells them, no, you can't do that? Or, sorry, yeah, that's not allowed. How much more power might they then strip from these council officers or decide to just get rid of? That, I think, is the more worrying story in this regard. However, we've had a little bit of an update because, interestingly enough, one of these bizarre rules that came in with this new flag rule is that you can apparently, or at least looking like this, you can, if they are flying a flag you don't like, you can just write in and demand its removal. Because up until I believe it was about 2 or 3 days ago, this happened. They were flying the Ukrainian flag in Warwickshire, and Warwickshire actually has, in very recent times, a very good history of helping to support the Ukrainian cause. They've done lots of fundraising. The local Hussars Museum there has like a traveling expedition that helps raise money for ambulances to be sent to Ukraine. They've done a lot of stuff, and I think the people of Warwickshire should be very proud of the support they have actually shown to the Ukrainian people. And now, out of nowhere, this letter came in on Monday asking for the removal of the Ukrainian flag, which, of course, they immediately followed through on because who's in charge of deciding which flags is and isn't up? Well, it's the chairman, who also happens to be a member of Reform UK. Surprise, surprise. So let's dig more into this because I think this is, as I agree with the MP, I think it is very deeply troubling about this removal of the Ukrainian flag, but it also shows you that if Reform are willing to be this petty and strip away this power, what else might they want to strip powers away from other council officers, maybe in the future? So, before we do go on into this, please do, of course, remember to click on the like, share, and the subscribe button. Down below, of course, there are links to my Patreon page, the donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can well buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the YouTube membership down below as well. So, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel. And of course, now we've got the little QR code up at the top, which takes you straight to the Patreon page as well. So, let's go jumping in on to this. So, this comes from the BBC of the removal of Ukrainian flag is now deeply troubling. So, a Labour MP has called Warwickshire County Council's removal of the Ukrainian flag from its headquarters deeply worrying. Matt Weston, the Labour MP for Warwick and Leamington, took to social media to make comments on Reform UK's council-led of the new flag rule. The policy now, which bans all flags apart from the Union Jack, St George's, and Warwickshire County flags, came into place after a row over a Progress Pride flag outside the authority's Shire Hall in Warwickshire during Pride Month back in June. Which, remember, Nigel Farage got involved with. We know that there's, well, I would say for certain, this did not come from Warwickshire councillors themselves, these Reform councillors. This came from that office down in London that we keep on talking about. Farage himself got involved in this. So, back to this. Weston, of course, then wrote onto Facebook about all his concerns about the removal of the Ukrainian flag was, of course, not about protocol, but about principle. The BBC has since contacted Warwickshire Council and its leader, Councillor George French, has asked now for the Progress Pride flag to be removed when he was elected leader of the council. But the chief executive, Monica Fogarty, who previously held that responsibility for deciding which flags could be flown, refused. The council's cabinet then voted to hand that decision-making power to the council chairman, Reform councillor Edward Harris, just last month. Bear in mind, it was a split vote. Who got the deciding vote? It was the Reform chairman. This has been a continuing pattern on Warwickshire County Council, that if the vote gets split anyway, the chairman comes in and just votes reform. So, Weston, of course, wrote back on Wednesday, this now is a pattern that, of course, speaks volumes. Since Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, over 950 Ukrainian families have found refuge in Warwickshire through the Homes for the Ukrainian scheme. Flying the Ukrainian flag was a very simple, powerful act of solidarity with those who now have fled war and are still fighting for their freedom. Ukraine is still at war. Russia started it, and Reform UK's decision to remove that flag sends now the entirely wrong message, not just to the Ukrainians, but now to all of us who believe in compassion, inclusion, and of course, about standing up to tyranny. Weston then called on the council leader Finch's approach to leadership completely tone deaf, addressing the county that the county now deserved better than this very decisive and regressive politics. I urge the county council to now reverse this decision and fly the Ukrainian flag once more. Speaking about this new flag policy during a council meeting back in September, Finch said, this county and everyone that's in it is identified by three things: the United Kingdom, England, and our country. The BBC essentially contacted him for comment, and I have a feeling he's not going to respond because that is also a tactic as well. They don't respond when they talk about this. I would say this is bad. You know, this is all about a sign of, as was said there, it's all about showing solidarity. Currently, above our town hall, we've got the Ukrainian flag flying. It's been flying since the very beginning of all this. I worry in May, we are probably going to end up with a reform council in my constituency. Why? Because as I said before, our turnout rate last election back in May was 25%. I am very worried in the upcoming May elections, local elections for this county. I am very worried indeed. And I know one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to get rid of that Ukrainian flag. So it sends a very powerful message of support that, you know, we as the UK, we are supporting the Ukrainians. We know about their struggle is a genuine a fight for freedom. You know, I've covered it on this channel. What's been going on in Ukraine? I haven't talked about it in a while because there hasn't been any significant big updates, or there has been in terms of striking the oil refineries, etc. The fact that finally Trump seems now to be finally on the side of the Ukrainians, which again, what took you so long, you know? But hey, it's good. At least he's finally on the right page for once. We've now been supplying Ukrainians with locations of Russian energy infrastructure. There's talks now about Trump supplying them with Tomahawk cruise missiles and even longer range missiles. I hope that goes through. I hope that goes through. So this, I would say, is all about, at the end of the day, this removal, this whole flag war, it's petty politics. It's petty, pointless politics. What does this really achieve? At the end of the day, nothing. The previous flag rule was perfectly fine under this. And to be honest, I think any administration that takes power after Reform UK should undo this flag rule and give the power back to the council executive, not be left in the hands of the council chairman, who, as we've seen, can basically receive a letter. Again, we don't know where this letter came from because someone's put in a freedom of information request about this and said, oh, well, we received a letter about this, but where did this letter come from? Who sent this letter? What was then your reasoning for saying, well, okay, we'll remove the Ukrainian flag? Given, as was pointed out there, the counties, as I've said, there is a lot of heavy support for Ukraine in Warwickshire. The people of Warwickshire should be very, very proud of the support they are showing to the Ukrainian people. but apparently not your Reform UK councillors. So, as always, uh, actually, here's an interesting question. If you are from Warwickshire, I would write, I would do write a letter campaign constantly calling on the council to restore that. I have to wonder how they would respond to that. But I think you could only potentially do it if you are from Warwickshire. That would be something very interesting to organise. But other than that, let me know what you think about all that, of course, down below. Don't forget to hit the like and share button. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about all this, especially if you are from Warwickshire as well. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.